Check 1, 2. Oh, there we go. Lovely. We've got some handheld mics coming.
Wow, look at you warriors.
I know.
You've gone through the whole week and you're still here. You're amazing.
Yeah. The hardcore, this is the hardcore waste conference people. Now, I'm giving you an out. And the out starts like this. Costa Georgiadis. The 6:25 flight from Coffs was cancelled. And they put him on the 4:45 flight. I know. So you have an out. If you came to spend an hour with Costa, you may leave. I won't cry. I hang out with him enough to know that there's no tears. Oh, look, here he is now. What's he got to say? I'm joking, it's not him. Somebody else who shouldn't be ringing me. All right. Phones on focus and silence. That was just a test. You know, at the beginning of the thing, that was just a test for everyone to pop their phones off. You might need your phone to do a bit of texting on, but I'm serious. If you really wanted to hang with Costa for an hour, and this feels like a bitter disappointment, then head off. It's fine.
Should we close our eyes for 30 seconds so you don't need to feel
shame,
embarrassed?
no
It's bright up here. I can't see you anyway. It's all fine. No. Thank you. Oh, that's nice. It's the gentle lighting now. It's good. The other rule for this session is no photographs of the people who are comparing it because I look like I need a big sleep. We don't need to have that image out on the internet. No.
Pretty sure they're live streaming this, Kate.
Oh, damn. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody at home. Now, if you think that they've stuck around till this time on the live stream, but mind you, they might have thought Costa was going to be here, so damn. All right. Hello, lovely people. What a conference. What a gathering. So many conversations. Of course, we're here on Gumbundia country, and I would like to say hello to country. Hello to the mountains and to the ocean and to the sea, to the rivers that flow into it, to the rain that falls from the sky constantly. I live an hour and a half up the road on Bundjalung country, and we feel like we've got the same catchment down here at the moment with so wet. The other day, my fella Huey stepped out of the veranda and popped his foot on a python, and just in the paddock, and it was in the daytime. He gently took, he's one of these gentle walkers, not like me, I'm a bit of a clomper, so no harm to the snake, foot off, stepped backwards to watch the snake in the grass chasing 2 yabbies that have escaped from, now the pond seems to be our whole yard, and gobbled up the 2 yabbies on its way to somewhere. So that's how wet it is in the northern rivers, but it has got rivers in the title of the region, so we should be prepared for this. All right. I also want to say that I'm so honoured to be part of a country whose people sing their geography and paint their history and dance their stories. And it's that creative energy from our First Nations people that we draw upon to do our work most days. Some days we're too tired to dance, so. This is why we're here, care and love of country. And all of us have been gathering, whether we know it or not, having conversations about that for the last few days. And so with that in mind, we're moving forward to, I was thinking, we were talking about it yesterday a little bit, we had a conversation about the bubble of the conference, right? We get here and we have these wildly cool conversations, and we hear some fantastic ideas. We also hear some scary facts, we hear that perhaps the percentages of change are not quite as high as what we would be hoping they would be, or that we've got 5 years, or there's a sense of urgency, or we can't change that one. There is 5 years between now and 2030. That's a given. And so so how do we take our what ifs to what nexts? And that's what this session is about. The what if thing has been really fascinating, because what if has already got an invitation to it. You should is not an invitation. Or I should is not an invitation, but what if? What if we did this? And so I suppose what I hope from this afternoon, if there's only one thing we take back to our teams, is to change the way that we make suggestions for change. And we swap out the we should, you should, I should, to a what if we. And you watch and see what happens. Because the only reason that I can get these people to come anywhere with me, what if we went to COFs? Right? What if we went to this waste conference and we hung out with all these people who are really into the same things as we are? What if we got a kick-ass beach house and we stayed in it while we were here? What if we invited people around for cups of tea? So it's much nicer than saying, you should come with me to COFs and we're going to a waste conference. It's much nicer. But I think the thing that is, let's just unpack the what if for a minute. What are we really talking about? And why do we, as storytellers and change makers, keep standing up here in front of it? Why do they invite us to the conference? And I suppose it's because, for better or for worse, we have a real belief that big change occurs through imagination. And I don't mean through airy-fairy imagination, I mean about imagining the future. Because if we can't imagine it, we can't make it. And that's for everything. A building, a road, a house, a dream, a dress to wear. People imagine things and then they become so. And so what we're talking about is, how do we bring imagination into the realm of the kind of day-to-day conversations that we're having in our teams, in our businesses, with our communities and citizens, with our children? How do we bring this imagineering? How do we reimagineer the future? And these what-if questions are fantastic. I was doing a session down at the Waste Conference in Melbourne a few years ago, and I had a panel of women in waste. And I asked them to pose what-if questions. And I was thinking, I wonder how good they're going to be at this, because they're all kind of, the bureaucracy gang, no preconceptions. And the first question that they came up with, the first speaker said, what if there were no landfills? What a question, right? Because then we have to reimagineer the future. What if there were no landfills? How would things be different? Have a think in your head. How would products be made? How would we shop? It just opens up a whole huge world of possibilities. And so I suppose this is what I'm thinking about at the moment. I'm thinking, what if you had a little think, just a little think, about the one idea that you have heard, or the one notion that you have heard this week? You've heard lots at the conference, but where's the big resonator for you? And we're going to call that a seed. Because you're going to get garden analogies and nature analogies for us all afternoon. Just get used to it, right? So what's your seed? What is your what if? Now, with a bit of luck, the young and vigorous Dirt Girl and Scrap Boy will run around and give you a piece of paper for you to write your seed on. This is a piece of paper for you, not a piece of paper for me. Okay? So have a little think. Who's got one? Who's brave enough to say, I've got one? Yep. Front row microphone. Microphone.
What if we could divert all our construction demolition waste from our landfill?
Sorry, what was it?
What if we could divert all of our construction and demolition waste out of landfill?
Yeah, what if we could... I'm so tired.
What if we could divert all of our construction and building materials out of landfill?
Great. Who else has got a what if? Something that they've heard here at the conference. I'm only going to do one more because you're going to have time to write one down.
What if we had national product skips? I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's okay. I actually heard, totally understand it. For batteries? Yeah. Well, that's great, because what we've got, of course, is the New South Wales, and they've made this plug-in policy for everybody else. So let's hope that the other state governments can go, hey, wow, they've done all the work for us, let's plug it in. So we'll see how good. But, this other part of the story that we're talking about is willingness. Where is the willingness? And willingness comes from teams of people saying, we want this too. So it's interesting, isn't it? If you heard about that, I'm sure the Victorian government know about it, right? Of course they do. or the Western Australian government know about it. But they still need to hear from us it's something that we want. And so that increases their willingness to do things quickly, especially if we start talking about, it's a funny word because there's an urgency, but how do we change that word to make sure that we're being very clear about the timeliness of things without kind of instilling fear in people? I know that sometimes we think in comms and in education that fear is a great motivator, but it's a really short-term motivator. It's not a sticky motivator, and I think it's a lazy motivator to scare people, to try and get them to do things. So you're doing the what if. What's your seed? And I'll read you a little thing, because when Costa said he was leaving, I had to write things down. Here we go. We came here full of questions and we're leaving with ideas. But the real question is, what will we do when the badge is off and the inbox is back? This isn't the end. It's the beginning of something grown on purpose. So what idea has found you here? Write it down on your seed card.
Can I leap ahead? We're going to collect all of these papers and photograph them. So if you're saving paper and using your phone, counterintuitive.
Oh, they can keep them.
You can keep them?
Yeah, they can
Okay,
keep them.
we changed the plan. It's
We
that time.
decided photographs were ugly.
I'll just stick to handing out coloured pencils.
Yeah. For those people who've just arrived, it's not a test. Question 2. No. That's right, time's up. No. We're just writing down what great idea what's one of the ideas that we've found, what idea has found you at the conference. And it's a seed, of course. How are we going? Has everyone got one? You're good, industrious. In a second, I need you to prepare yourself to talk to somebody next to you. You might need to gather your strength for that now. Take a few deep breaths. There's going to be a bit of a conversation just about to happen. All right. See, it was a bridge too far. No Costa, and they had to talk to people. Fair enough. Bye-bye. All right, now let's have a turn to a person who's near you, or find somebody who's near you and have a bit of a yarn with them. Let them know what your seed is. You might have to move. Feel comfortable. We're all friends. Okay. All right, attention back this way for a second. No, it's okay, it's great. It's lovely. What a lovely thing to be listening to. The many voices of change happening in one room. It's fantastic. Okay, so you've shared your idea with somebody. You've shared your seed with somebody. I'm looking for 3 people. 3 people who would love to come and fill the 3 chairs on stage with me with 3 ideas, and guess what you get? I know they look like seed balls in that gumball. And I really wish they were, because that's what we wanted, but we just didn't get it together to make them, and the seed balls are hard to find. So they're protein balls, which is probably not a bad idea at this time of the afternoon. You may choose it, you don't have to, they're delicious. There's nothing icky in them, they're like those really good ones, chewy raspberry sort of yummy things. You may have one if you want one on the way down from the stage. But 3 people who want to come up and have a yarn about what their what-if idea, where their seed is. Jump up in the chair, come on up. Who else wants to join us in the participant? Good, great. Jen. Fantastic. Hey, can everyone give Jen a round of applause? Because I think this is her first waste conference.
Yes.
Hand up if it's your first waste conference. Are you serious? I just worked out. That's why they're here at the last session. Are you disappointed? No, don't answer that. No. Okay, so there's heaps of first people. Oh my good. We're going to play that first game. We're going to do this, we're going to do my thing, but we did a last session once where we got 3 people who had never been to the conference before, who didn't know anybody, to get up on a 1-minute hot seat and say what they did. And one of those people got their first client at the end of the session. And it wasn't meant to be for like a mega pitch, but that's just genius. What a genius idea, right? Anyway, we'll do that towards the end. One more person, there's a spare seat. One more what-if person, jump up, come on, beautiful. Jen, what is it? Tell me your what-if.
What if we all talked about waste to our neighbours and friends like we talk to people here about waste? And not your colleagues and your closest friends who have to deal with you talking about waste all the time, but your neighbours, the broader community.
Beautiful. Next one.
Me? What if every school had a compost and veggie patch?
You won't get any points from us.
Mine's a bit long-winded, but what if all energy-rich and heavy waste was used for alternative fuel instead of landfill?
Hand up if you've got a similar one. If you've got a similar one to the ones that are up here. All right. So we're going to go to the next stage with these 3 people so that you can see how it works. If you take, because we're talking about the bubble thing, right? It's all those great ideas. What happens when you hit work next Monday? What's going to happen, Jen? With this seed, what are you going to do? Okay, it's a hard question, right? What do you think if you got to there on Monday and you're with your team and you go, oh my God, that waste conference was fantastic. I've just had a genius idea. And this is all I want to float at you. Where do you think the blocks are going to be? Do you think you're going to get any blocks of that?
Yeah, because I've got lots of ideas. So, there's a challenge, isn't there, with kind of just maybe talking about one at a time and being enthusiastic about one at a time rather than lots. Or maybe not. I don't know. But
any advice from people in the room about this notion of what if you've got a lot of shiny things rolling around your head?
This is Charlotte.
Hello. I think probably similar to what you were saying about what if we talked to people about waste like we do here. I think that's an amazing thing to do because sometimes doing that can spark a change. And just as an example, I do indoor rock climbing, and I noticed their bins are just 2 general waste bins, but they're always filled with bottles. So I just went up and said, oh, what if you got a recycling bin in there? And then the next week they had a recycling bin there. So they actually changed it just based on that little curious comment. which was done in a friendly way, but it made that change happen. So I think doing your what if is really important.
Nice, round of applause, Fran. So you've rocked up to work, you've got lots of great ideas, you know, and we know that priority strategy, you know, we know all of these things. We know that when we get lots of ideas and we put them all together and we do brainstorms and then we work out what's going to be a priority. But basically it's sort of asked you to prioritise, you know, what is this one great thing that you want to prosecute when you get back to work. So what would you do on, I know, I'm putting you on the spot, but I know you know this. What's the first action you would do? Like, let's think about that. The first thing you could do to make that what if come true.
Go and talk to my neighbours, I guess. Where were you last week? I was at a waste conference where there was an amazing number of people all talking about your rubbish and your bins and the future. Like, that's exciting. Because people don't know that. You know what I think threw me is when you go to work, what are you going to do? Well, this is about not work.
That's right.
Yeah. It's about the space in between this conference and going back to the office. And that's to convince people that there's thought and process and money and initiative and imagination going into their waste is like a light bulb moment for some people.
It's interesting, isn't it? One of the slides we didn't get to because Costa talks too much at our keynote was integrity. And integrity is that we say what we sow. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, that whole thing of as people who work in the industry, we've got this opportunity to not just talk about stuff, but to sow it. And that's what I think is an interesting thing. That's what this question goes to. This says in our normal life. And when we were talking about that hyper-local thing, that the biggest change can happen closest to your home, in your street, in your neighbourhood, in your family, with your granny, with your sister-in-law and brother-in-law. My sister is an idiot. I love her. She's an idiot, right? She's on the live stream now.
Hello, Marianne.
I'm not joking. I'm joking, Marianne. You know you're not an idiot. My sister was the complete opposite to me until her local council decided to put a tick on the bin of people who could do good recycling. Right? And this week she got a tick on her bin. And she's had one before that she had to ring me up and rub it in. Our council did ticks and I got one. And she has stopped bleaching all of her washing at the same time. She's my big sister, and she's got a very annoying little sister who says, "What if you did?" You know. But yeah, I think that kind of. Then she rang up everyone in the family to tell them that she got it, and then my brother said, "How did you get a tick?" Right? And she said, "Because I sort my rubbish," and she told them all about it. And it's interesting, isn't it, that I would have the tick thing until my sister wet her pants about getting one. I would have thought that was right down on my priorities of things I would be saying to councils to do. Because to me, I kind of go, it's so school, getting a tick on your bin. But for her, it was like better than an Academy Award. So it's like...
Oh, is it?
Do you want to...
Yep, come through.
Oh, no.
I really like what you're saying, but be careful what you wish for. My friends now send me photos of, hey, this is my green bin, and it's full. I get those all the time now.
And what do
And
you
it's
say
also,
back to them?
which day is my day? And can this go in my recycling? So I love the idea, and it does really work, but be careful what you wish for.
I've got a good idea for you, though. You can say, oh, my God, that's fantastic. It would be really helpful for me if you could write a blog post on that for me, right? And put it back on them to work it out for themselves, and then hopefully they would never ring you again about what day because they've done a blog post for you, right?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So this is this idea of proof of concept, keep it local, hyper-local, in your backyard. I've had a similar experience where I grew up in the country kid, but when you have time in the city, you notice that neighbours don't know each other. And one of the things that I've, like probably a few of us in this room, experienced is during natural disaster, people get to know each other real quick. People who've lived on the same street for 30 years and don't know their neighbours. So as a country kid in the city, I always make a point of meeting my neighbours, and one thing we all have in common is bin day. And I have formed some really close relationships. And this comes back to Kate's point about activating our communities. It's giving them agency. So my neighbour across the road is this neighbour who is always filling their green bin. But I've got chickens in the city, and I've got 3 compost bins, and I've got 2 worm farms, so I've always got heaps of room in mine. So we share a green bin. And then he's talked to his school kids, friends, parents about this, and they're doing the same. So proof of concept, I know it's a work thing here, it is a home conversation, but it does empower the people in the community to do the education and the storytelling, and that's what we're talking about.
And I don't think even Jen's suggesting that will solve our bigger problem. We'll all go home from this room and we'll talk to our people about this, and our problems are all over. But that intimate conversation, that thing I think it also helps us remind ourselves of just sometimes how easy it is, because sometimes it is just conversation. All right, moving right along. What's the first thing you're going to do to get this seed happening?
My what if?
Yeah, Monday morning. What's happening?
Probably, I'm fairly new to the role and I'm an education officer, just for a bit of a general. Looking at what schools and preschools already do have compost and veggie patches and those that don't, and then celebrating and acknowledging those who do on one side, and then reaching out to the schools that don't, and maybe opening up a conversation as to why potentially they haven't got one, and then looking at the ways that I can help facilitate that.
Cool. There's a plan. Yeah. It sounds simple, but the thing is, otherwise what happens is we go home and we've had all this stuff, and then we get involved in the stuff that's at home waiting for us, and then the stuff that happened at the conference becomes a dim memory until next May when we get together. And we wished we had done something in that last 12 months. So yeah, it's a really simple and good plan. I thought the other thing, you know why it's a good plan? Because we go to a lot of schools, and we see a lot of school gardens that are 4 raised garden beds with 3 weeds in them. And so the resources are there. In a lot of the schools, the resources are there. The love's not there because they're lacking some, and so understanding what that lack is, and so reimagineering the situation that said, what if those garden beds were producing food that the kids could eat for lunch? Then what if we could help those educators be able to do that? There you go, and off we go running. Not simple. I'm not going to say that yes, and there's the magic box and it's ticked, but there's a plan. So congratulations. And our last, what are you going to do on Monday to start activating?
Kate, it'll probably be Tuesday, but I'll meet with my team. We have our monthly meeting, and I flicked them an email this morning looking at a trial, so we'll talk about that maybe. And I think Wednesday I'll have to talk to procurement, which will be the problem.
All right, great plans. All right, so your job is to have a little think about and you know what I mean, first day action. What's my first day action to get this idea up and running? Have a little think about it, and then have a little conversation with the person next to you, because it was lovely hearing you all have a talk. All right, I'll check back with you in 5 minutes. Here you go. Look, I've got a great idea. the cup of protein balls.
Funny, you can do funny sound effects. You do like we're going in this time machine and let's make it live. We're going to
Okay, folks. Next step in the grand adventure of reimagining the future. Welcome back. Okay, so the question, next question. First of all, did you have a good yak? Everyone have a good yarn about that? And did you, have you all got a plan? Yep, if this is what you're going to go ahead with, you've got a bit of a plan. It's what the first action is. I need you to just, in the reimagineering process, we're going to do a little half step first. So it's 90 days from now. Okay, so 90 days from now, March, May. I'm really not this stupid, I'm sorry. May, June, July, August. Okay, August, somewhere around August. End of August, yeah? Just before spring. Perfect time for the gardens of the Snowies, right? Just before spring. Anyway, in 90 days from now, you didn't let your idea fade. So what happened next? Who helped? Who shifted? All right? So who helped and who shifted to make where we are 90 days down this journey? Have a think about it. Some of you won't have completed, some of you won't have scratched the surface. But who got on board from your team? Who were those people in your workplace or in your family, in your neighbourhood, who got on board and went, yep, I'm on this, cool. Or who were the people you needed to talk to? What's your network? Who are your team to make this happen? All right, have a little think. So have a little jot down, write down some things. Are you the sort of person who has to do everything yourself because there's only you? Then you can write that down too. And you can have a talk to the person you've been talking to about that. Check in with them, say, yep, I need to talk to this person, or you were surprised that so-and-so was helpful. Remember, we're imagining 90 days ahead. All right, that's beaut. That's enough of that. Everyone come back to here because the real fun. This is the most fun of the whole session is coming up right now. I hope I haven't oversold it, really. All right, thank you. Hey, so we thought about the 90 days thing. Now, you know we love this. If you've visited our stand, you know how much we love jumping time and thinking about it, the future, and letting all of our fears, all of our concerns melt away and letting our imaginations take us to a place of success where anything is possible and everything happened. And not accidentally, because you just had a golden path. Do you know the golden path? You know how some projects, when you step onto it, it just kind of rolls, right? Things fall into place, people agree about things, stuff happen. We get to see it all the time because Costa lives on this golden path, right? He just puts one foot in front of each other, right in this golden path. And just when you think, I wonder if he packed anything, there he is with everything he needs, right? So it's like somehow or other he is always in the right place at the right time, no matter what. So this is the life you're going to imagine, the life that everything has gone really well, because we're about to jump into the future. But we're going to do it in 2 stages. I'm going to get some people. So in a minute, after these guys take you to the future, what you're going to be looking for is a couple of sentences. One sentence that might start with, in 2030, I see. Or, in 2030, we no longer. Or, in 2030, we learn to. Something like that, right? And this is with this idea that you've taken. So we've taken it to day one. What are we going to do on day one? We've taken it to 90 days in the future. And now we're going to take it 5 years in the future to 2030. And you may have moved on from this because it's a little idea, but it may be a big idea, but you can still refer to it as where it got to by 2030. Now, we're going to, with the power of Dirt Girl and Scrap Boy, they're going to take you on a magical journey to 2030.
You see, the best thing is that we don't even need to just imagine the future, because very conveniently, Scrap Boy's been building something.
Hey, Dirt Girl.
Yeah.
How you going?
I'm great. I'm at Waste Conference. Oh, what? Oh my gosh. That's flashy.
Is it?
Look, what is that?
Glad you noticed. It's introducing my latest invention, the COFS Waste Conference 2025 time machine.
Oh, Whoa, this is an exciting day.
Yeah, it really is.
Will we all fit in there?
I hope so. Also made with scraps. Not sure if it is licensed to carry this many people.
Right.
Have you been in a time machine, Dirt Girl?
No.
Do you want to have a go?
Let's do it.
Right.
Okay, let's step inside the time machine and let's turn to 5 years' time. Okay. And
Whoa.
the year is 2030.
You look good, folks. Haven't aged a day. Maybe except for you, Kate. You look tired. Really tired.
I haven't been to sleep since 2025. Leave me alone. All right, so we're in 2030. We've stepped out of the time machine. Who has a sentence that they're going to say? In 2030, I see. In 2030, we've learned.
And the trick to this, if you don't mind me, as Kate's just said there, the way that this works really well is if you have physically taken yourself there and you're talking in present tense. There's a real power to that. So I'd really encourage you to try do that.
Where else would we be? Are we
Okay.
in 2030 at the COPS conference?
So it's 2030. I'm walking down the street. There's a whole bunch of strangers. Everybody is wearing secondhand and reuse, and it's no longer something that people are like, wow, that's different, because it's become mainstream.
Woohoo! All right, who's got a 2030? Right up the back. Fantastic.
Gotcha.
So in 2030, I see Coles, Woolies, Audi and Foodland using their billions of dollars profit that they post every year, profit that is, billions, they will have got together,
Well done.
and they are taking all soft plastics and recycling it from all over Australia.
Woohoo! Okay, who else has got one?
We've got one over here in the corner.
I've got one over here.
Go, Girl.
In 2030, we will have changed our attitudes from a consumeristic to society to repairing items such as shoes and clothes, e-waste, things like that, and we will recycle everything, and there will be zero waste to landfill.
Okay, I'm going to pull you up. That's perfect. But I'm going to pull you up. Let's have, can you try and do it where it's not we will be, but we are?
Sorry, we are.
Yeah. Go again. Tell me about it. Yeah.
Do I have to do it again?
Yeah, you have to do it again, but you have to say, I know, I'm mean, I'm a bully, don't worry. In 2030, we are.
In 2030, we are no longer a consumeristic society. We repair things. We reuse things. We recycle and we share things.
Fantastic. Why it's important, especially because this is such a great exercise to do with your teams. It's a great thing to do. And it's great to do if you're in schools or you're with community and you're doing a community consultation meeting. This is really powerful. It really is powerful when we say, I am, I see. We don't put it in the we will because it hasn't happened. Do you know what I mean? Like what we're trying to do is create a thread that comes from now to the future that you can backscape. Because when you say, it's 2030 and I see a garden in every primary school, I see compost, then you go, okay, tick, 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 tick. In 2027, as a community, the council decided that this was really important and they passed a bill that said every school will have one. In 2028, we employed an education person whose job it was only to do is garden. That was their job, to work with the gardens. In 2029, we won the Banksia Award for getting school gardens happening. And in 2030, every single school has one. Okay, so do you know what I mean? Like, so there's steps. So you kind of move to the future and then backscape down to here. And then all of a sudden you go, okay, what if we really do this as a process? What if we actually create strategy and plans about imagining what the future is, and then putting the very real steps into getting there with a real belief that this is possible, because we've seen it and we've said it. You know what I mean? And it's a bit different from a strategic plan that has a hopefulness to it rather than an imperative to it. And it's just a little twist. But that's when we talk about storytelling and change making, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. Who else has got one? I love them. I can listen to them all day. Yeah, go for it.
Tucker down.
It's 2030, it's probably closer to 2050 with this plan, but it's 2030, I'm walking through the beautiful town of Cooma, and all I can see is infrastructure that serves the community that is made from the demolition waste that we diverted from our landfill.
Fantastic.
Hi, it's Darryl here from Grow It Local, and you kind of stole my show there because I just had to say it's 2030 and every school in the country has a veggie garden and a compost. And the kids are being taught about where food comes from, and obesity is on the decline.
So it's 2030, and I'm waking up on Saturday morning to spark up the barbecue, put some bacon on the eggs on the barbecue, and it's powered by the gas that I bought from the local anaerobic digester that was collected from the Lane Cove City Council from all of our scrap food and waste, and maybe a little bit from the sewage works. But so all of your gas is renewable.
It's like so exciting, isn't it? It's the thing of when we think everything is possible. Yay, here we go.
I'll do one. It's 2030, and there are food trees growing down our streets everywhere where you can just go and pick an apple off a tree.
Free food. Eat the street. Fantastic. And then you kind of go, yeah, okay, that's actually, I can see that. Well, it might be 2035 because they've got to grow and fruit, but you know, I'm with you. There's a guy called,
Rob Hopkins.
Rob Hopkins, thank you. Transition Towns. You know this guy, Rob Hopkins? And he's written a book called What If? And he has a podcast from What If to What Next. But he has the audio book for What If, and it's on Audible.
Fantastic.
It is life-changing for us as people who want change. And even if you only listen to the first chapter, if you just listen to it, and at the end of it, you will feel differently about everything. And not because he's a guru or a spiritual person or anything, but because he is a futurescaper. And we listen to it when we go on car drives together because I'm obsessed with the man.
And I'm going to jump in there. And once, this is my journey with it, once I finished the book, he actually had a podcast where he would bring different people on with these what if questions that people have sent to him, and he gets specialists and they kind of unpack this future. They do pretty much what we've done today, where we go to the future. And so it's a really great thing to just tap into to keep this conversation alive and going.
What was his name, sorry?
Rob Hopkins.
And for those non-professional storytellers, when you do listen to the audiobook or you get into the podcast and you can't put your finger on why it is so visceral and so powerful, it's in the detail, the minutiae. What it smells like, what it tastes like, what the thing feels like. So when you go next level, chapter 2 on your futurescaping, include details.
It's so true, because when you can taste that apple, suddenly it's real. And there's almost something to lose, you know. There's something, it's worth it, and you can see it and you can work towards it.
I could hear that egg crack that Jack ripped out for the barbecue in 2030.
I mean, that's it. Is Jack just added bacon and eggs, right? And that was all he added. And here we were. And then he made the
Salivating.
connection between where that energy came from. And we bought in more, yeah? And I just want to say, we did a session at Morwell at the International Rose Festival. Morwell has an International Rose Festival as well as a mushroom killer. And
If anyone from
too
Morwell's
soon,
tuning into the
too
live stream,
soon.
hello.
Sorry. I shouldn't convict her. Everyone's innocent until they're proven guilty. I meant mushroom court case. That's what I meant to say. But
Yeah.
like Morwell's in a place of transition. They're moving from they're decarbonising their community, and so there's big change happening down there. And so of course we go down there and we do a grubby bucket show and we hang out and we tell stories and we do kinds of things with the kids. But then at that evening we gather the whole community together and we do this what if session, and all the kids, everybody. From really small kids to grandparents gathered under the night sky in the middle of this most incredibly beautiful rose garden that they've grown over many years in Morwell.
Which was once a what if.
Yeah. What if we were a town who grew a rose garden? It's in the middle of their suburb. It's not a botanical garden. It's just around their houses and in their little park and on their roundabouts. And they love it. They love it. And this is a pretty poor community, and they love their roses. And they get cuttings from the roses at the Rose Festival, and they all grow roses in their garden. It's just beautiful. Anyway, so we're there, and we start asking these what if questions. And you get one little boy who says, what if every house had an apple tree outside of it? Because then we could all have apple juice whenever we wanted to. And no one was allowed to poo-poo any idea. What if we created a trail from our river where we got all of our students at TAFE and, just remembering them back, and high schools to do a river clean-up system, but that became a place where there were tiny houses where people could go for holidays and we could have a tyre, like they have those tyres, and we could float down and have a tourist thing, we'd have ecotourism happening there. What if we had a place where people could gather and they could share seeds with each other? What if we had a place in the community where we could come together as all different generations and talk to council on a once monthly thing where we have a brainstorm like this? It just went on and on. We just had all these people really standing up in
There were
community.
art walks, there was all sorts of things. It's like this magic thing happens, right? Once the conversation gets going and you're given permission that you can actually say anything.
Yeah.
No one's gonna criticize you. You don't need to know how to get there yet. You just have to have that idea.
And then, then Costa and I thread the story. So after doing this for 20, 25 minutes, we took us to 2030 and we made everything that they said successful. And Costa's great too. He says, so I'm driving into Morwell this morning and I stop at this, there's like a fruit stall at the side of the road and they're selling cold drinks. And this little kid's name was Jonathan, sadly, with Jonathan Apples, but anyway. And he said, to get out and there's Jonathan Apple juice there on the bench. And I thought to myself, that's right, that boy Jonathan wanted an apple tree planted in front of everybody's house. And off we went. And we had a holiday in the tiny house and we all went down in the tubes and we went to the art walk and because we were just very in the present. And we gave the story back to the community who had grown the story together. And then the council were madly jotting things down because they had no idea that this would happen. We sort of said, we could do this what-if session with the community. It would be really interesting. Maybe you could use it for some planning or something. It's like a different way of consultation to let people wildly dream together. And to be honest, nobody wildly dreamed into anything that wasn't possible. It wasn't like we could have a moonwalk and all go in a straight thing straight up to the stars, and that would be fun too. But no, nobody did. They really kept it grounded. And so I just say, my what next for you is lean in to your imaginations, lean into your hearts, lean into speaking to community in a different way than just surveying them or getting a few people in occasionally or a group that is, representative of I don't know who. But it's hard. We all represent really big communities. But I think that occasionally in the middle of a festival, let people dream wildly together, because it gives them agency in the future dreams as well.
I'm just going to steal one of your little quotes that I read the other day because I feel like it fits so perfectly, and that is imagination is infrastructure.
So, love you all for being here. Thank you. It's been jolly good fun. Keep imagining all the way home. Well, not all the way home. If you're driving, you need to concentrate on the road as well. But download the podcast, right? Download the podcast and have a listen to it.
It's really good.
The first chapter, literally, I could listen to it every morning. You know, that and Braiding Sweetgrass. If you haven't heard the first chapter of Braiding Sweetgrass, and you need to listen to that as well.
Beautiful.
Have fun. We'll see you next year. Give yourself a big round of applause for finishing off the conference.
You're welcome to take the crayon if you're a
3 minutes early. Excellent.
a colourer or innerer, and if not, I can come by and collect your pencils and crayons.